Oh, stop.
What?
The guy that recommended that sandwich to you
Yeah?
might have said something racist 30 years ago.
Oh my God. Oh, thanks for stopping me from eating a sandwich that may have been recommended by someone whose views strayed from the narrative when he was a teenager. That's correct. Nick Solaris has been suspended from his job reviewing restaurants at Eater.com because he was in a band in the 80s called Youth Defense League, and they might have been Nazis. They might have been racist. I was around then, and I remember Youth Defense League, and Nazi skinheads didn't like them. They didn't cut the mustard. I believe they'd had a single on Screwdriver's label, Rock Against Communism. Screwdriver were considered sufficiently racist for the Nazi skins, but Youth Defense League were like the Cro-Mags and Agnostic Front. They were American skinheads who were very patriotic, but they rejected the race thing. Sorry, not good enough. Because of that loose association, you may not know about food 3 decades later. Please explain this logic to me. What 18-year-old... Oh, there was some jalapenos in there. What 18-year-old didn't have idiotic politics back then? I had a Lenin pin and told my dad about the plight of the working class when I was a middle-class, well-educated punk rocker. But yeah, what's really going on here is a few things, and none of them have anything to do with race. This is about not just spicy peppers. This is about anti-white male privilege, which is the only white male privilege going around. If you're not a white male, you get away with anything. White males have to constantly be purified with shame for their sins, and they have to pay not just reparations, but suffer monetarily for all the sins of their past. No one else does. The other thing going on here is class. You see, political correctness, as I've said before, is just the upper class patronizing the lower class, which is why they use that incredibly fucking irritating word, disavowed. Hey, what happened with you and Jennifer? Oh, I disavowed her for using her soup spoon wrong. Disavow. If anyone uses that word, they're a dick. Anyway. The remarkably annoying Eddie Huang, who never misses an opportunity to complain about things being too white, wrote this article. Yes, that's the title. Oppressive whiteness of food. What? Wait a minute. Isn't restaurants what the New York Times and all these pro-multicultural people, isn't that their main argument? The diversity? They go, what, you don't like diversity? You can have tacos one day, Ethiopian food the next. I thought that was their whole push. Which, by the way, is pretty ironic, New York Times. That the most merit you can describe with your philosophy is how a wide variety of people get to serve me. And if they don't, I disavow them. Anyway, he's willing to forgive Nick. Whew, thank God. But in his article that is very in-depth, involves him going all the way to Wikipedia, he points out that this band once said, ready? We are definitely pro-American, nationalists, and anti-communists. This is a guy, by the way, a Chinese guy. Didn't a Chinese guy kill 77 million? Didn't a communist named Mao kill 77 million? How many 100 million plus people have died from communism? You're not allowed to be anti-communist anymore? 30 years later, you lose your job if you didn't like over 100 million people being slaughtered for no reason. Nice logic. The scrutiny we're under is fucking amazing. But yeah. Political correctness is class. And I remember when I was a kid, I was a middle-class punk rocker, and we would take the bus into the city every weekend and buy records and collect zines. We were so into the arts and crafts of our hair and our little patches. And, oh, I made this zine. You want to trade me? Let's go to the anarchist conference. And it was like Comic-Con, really. I'm not disparaging it. It was fucking fun. But part of the things we would do on our high horses, is, talking about Emma Goldman's view of anarchy, was to teach some of these barbarians about racism, you know. Even though there was no blacks or Jews in small-town Canada, but we would go up to these Luddites and say, look, you... And they would destroy us because they came from broken homes and they were poor. I think we need to go back, by the way, to blue-collar dudes, the poor punching the rich when they insist something is disavowed. I mean, you see this in politics all over the place, this idea of punishing the working class. That's what Tony Blair did, is him and his speechwriter conceded that the reason they opened the borders to Muslims was to antagonize the blue collars. Anyway, this article was written by J.K. Trotter, Keenan Trotter, fascinating guy. I had lunch with him once just to try to figure him out, and he is a sociopath. I believe him to be a sociopath. The guy has no qualms with ruining people's lives, shaming them. He's gay, right? He outs gays all the time. He wants to out all these gays because it must be done. And I go, what kind of sick sadist are you? And he goes, what? What are you talking about? Like, that's the Gawker mentality. What? We're doing good. We're shaming people. Don't you know how wonderful shame is? We got tons of apologies and capitulation. He was the guy who, Razib Khan, was a scientist, still is, who will have a lucrative career that JK won't have, who was hired by the New York Times to discuss genetics, and he said, I'm open to everything. I'm open to eugenics, whatever you got. It's data. And he was outed for that. Boom, lost his job the next day. So in this case, we have a white guy getting a brown guy fired for being a racist. That's the world we live in now. We have Eddie Huang getting mad at a white guy for saying he doesn't like communism 30 years ago. If there's one person who doesn't know about restaurants, it's someone who hated communism when he was 18. By the way, Eater.com sounds a lot like the band Eater. Remember Eater, another punk band from the 70s? Let's listen to their biggest hit, Get Raped. Why don't you get raped? Why don't you get raped? Why don't you get raped? Go on and get fucked. Fucked. And that is a jam. But it trivializes rape. And if you are loosely associated with that, then you are profiting off the suffering of others. Eater, the site, should apologize. Anyway, Eater's boss did respond to this from their salon. They put down their glass of sherry, broke out their quill, and inscribed this on a piece of parchment. While we do not comment on individual employee matters, Vox Media disavows and adamantly rejects hate groups and hate speech, as well as organizations that seek to oppress individuals. I wonder if that's linked to Eddie's article, the oppress word, or groups based on religion, race, gender, identity, or sexual orientation. In other words, they're not a Nazi food site. Thanks for the wake-up call. And by the way, we know your little caveat here doesn't include a Muslim restaurant. That you would happily include in your reviews. Look, apologies are fuel for the grievance industry. All this capitulation does is empower them more and make them demand more apologies. Next thing you know, you can't discuss food if you were controversial when you were 18. That's not equality, by the way. That's fascism. And this is delicious.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.